let's say that you walk into this building and the ceiling is 60 foot tall and you're standing on the ground floor with 10 of your guys, right? And you need to go in there and do a bunch of work. And the boss is just sitting there with his finger pointing up in the sky at something. And he's 55 feet away from the motherfucker using his finger, thinking that all the other 10 other guys, that when he points at something, that they're actually looking at the same thing that he's looking at. I can almost guarantee that 99% of the 10 other people that are looking at him pointing up into the sky are not looking at what he's actually pointing at. And that's how difficult it is. And you got a bunch of yes, sir guys that when he's like, you see that thing over there? And everyone's like, yep. When they're really like, not a fucking clue. I really don't have any idea what the hell you're really pointing at. But I'm just going to say yes. Is kind of like how this whole ecosystem actually is. It's just a bunch of yes sir people that they would rather not publicly admit that they don't know anything on what they're really talking about, and taking the knee on actually educating and learning, because it's tough. Right? Like as soon as today happens, and let's say with all of us that are in here, I just start from scratch, right? Like any of you guys who have the time and the wherewithal to listen and pay attention to what's going on, this is going to be like a 3 to 5 hour chit chat here where you guys are just listening to me and I'm showing you pages of stuff and I'm making everything that's going on in the ecosystem very relevant to you and the reasons why these things are the way that they are. Unless that happened, then today would be an advantage day for everyone who was there to take the time. And it would be kind of a lost value for me because I spent a lot of time just not learning, teaching people. But then by tomorrow, when tomorrow happens, how much of the education that happened the day before is relevant now? How many things should have been learned by me, the educator, to bring more value to the next day? And that's where it gets difficult, because even the educators that know stuff fall behind, right? Like I was sick for about 2 weeks. And when I came back, the first thing that I had to do was not come in and speak in any general terms at all. I had to come in and sit down and like look at stuff, go through data, see what happened every day, every individual day. What is happening? Why? Go to the next day. What is happening and why? I still can't get all the value of what is happening and why because I wasn't live watching these things happen. Like going to the liquidity pools and seeing where liquidity is at, seeing where price is at, seeing the majority of the average of the buys and the sells and where they were at the time. To be able to come to the next day and be like, okay, yesterday was this. What is today going to bring us? So I had 2 weeks of lost education, which actually puts me further behind the mark to be able to come out and actually educate people to be like, what's relevant today? And then tomorrow is going to be another one. And then the day after that is another day and another day and another day of education. And eventually people start to get tired and weary and not want to do all that anymore. And it's tough. It really is. But you have to be on it. You have to always be on it. And in information technology, where every day is new stuff, and you're not paying attention to the stuff that's only relevant to you, then you could be going and digging in this information technology of all this rando shit, but it's just a waste of time. I mean, in reality, it's a waste of time for you to be like, well, there is all this new stuff that I need to go learn. And I know that it's valuable to go learn all this stuff, but how much of it is actually going to be effective in the educational process to learn how blockchain works, how liquidity pools work, how assets derive any price at all? What about the community? How many of the community members actually seem educated? How many actually seem to be willing to be educated and to learn new stuff? How many people are picking up on the education in the first place? How many people take the education that they learned, can quantify it to something that actually has some substance that makes sense in your head? And then they're the ones that are going out and educating people now too. Like you can find a lot of extra added value through the community just by paying attention to even those types of things. And I can say that because I see that happening with this ecosystem. right? Like me and admins and a lot of the other community members, a lot of you guys are in here, that have been here for a long time, we all started somewhere, right? We all had to start somewhere. And a lot of us started together, learning a lot of this stuff together, and where these advantages could pop up and where you could lose those advantages and why. And now it seems like those of us that have been around for a long time don't have to do so much work. It literally, we don't have to do as much work as I make it seem like you should do, because of the value of the community is actually picking it up. You know, you hear a lot of people, oh, this is so complicated, it's so difficult. It'd be like, if it was so difficult and it really was so complicated past just a staking protocol, I mean, it's literally that simple, then we wouldn't see so much progression of the community actually being helpful. The chats wouldn't have hundreds of missed comments for you to go back and read all the way to the bottom, where half the time you don't even read all of it because there's just so much to read back on in one day of people asking questions, getting good answers, formulating new questions based off the answers that they had. And then, like I said, some rando new person comes in and asks that same question. That's the first guy to answer the question because he's proud of himself or herself. Because at first it was, this is difficult. And then it was like, maybe it's not. It's really not. And then I can gain more money. I don't want to use the term money. I can gain more value with the education that I learned with these protocols. And then I want to teach people. Like, why not? Right? What advantage am I losing by having more people participate? None. None at all. None at all. And the more that you educate people, the more people are probably going to burn their Hedron. And then everybody wins. Like right now, my point would be to go out and kind of campaign to those who do have a lot of Hedron to participate more, or to consider the value of the participation when the 30% of stake supply of Hedron actually comes to a minimum stake length for the bigger guys, and how that's going to be pertinent to you and how that could be valuable to you, to maybe front run those guys, or to not, right? To not even worry about it. Just know that it's going to happen. And then when all of a sudden your yield just goes through the fucking roof again, you'll be one of the few people that doesn't need to ask why. You didn't even have to do anything. You didn't have to market anything. Like, you just let the rest of us do all the work and do the rest of the stuff. And you just participate, even if it's as minimal participation as you just staked some stuff and you're just happy for your yield, you'll be rewarded. For the rest of us doing all this other crazy, complicated furu shit, right? I hope I gave Crispy enough time. It seems like I probably took a half hour just to go through that.
I came back from my call. I was listening.
Cool. Mango asked one question and I went to the fucking walls, into the ceiling, and back to the floor again.
Yeah,
by the way, Mango, loved watching you on YouTube the other night. It's fucking awesome.
On Hexray's stream, yeah, I was a little disturbed.
I loved it. I fucking loved it. It was awesome. You make me laugh.
I didn't see it coming. It's like with the Rags and Heartbeat, I saw it from the very first stream they did together. And I knew as soon as I saw them on screen with each other, I knew they were going to create a coin. And then I didn't see Hexray coming up creating his own coin, so I was that bothered me.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Another one. He says. All right. Back to the stuff. So I guess I am happy to see that even the guys that are collecting the hard data like Crispy comes to the same types of conclusions, kind of validating the way that I felt about how people in their Hedron bags that didn't value their Hedron like they would have are all of a sudden starting to change their mentality on those types of things. And then finding out that y'all fuckers don't have enough Hedron and that it might actually cause for price to go up. And I'm only speculating on that. Who's to really actually say, I'm not going to do that? But certainly seems like that's the route that we're going based off of Crispy's data that's there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fine mess for sure.
a lovely, beautiful mess.
Yeah, because there's going to be gaps all over the place. You know, because it's certainly not that the Dolphins and others won't have any more Hedron, because they will, because they just have to wait long enough for more of it to grow, right? So they can mint it, but it's creating gaps. So you have probably gaps in Hedron availability, and you also have gaps in attention. And then probably a third. Then there's like a whole other third gap where there's like most people aren't even looking at the auctions at the moment, right? So, anyways, what it turns into for all of us is opportunity. That's what I think. If somebody wants to get more of those HSI stakes and whatever they're doing with them, there's opportunity right now.
What we say that the average T-share was going for right now, about 60.
Yes, it's about 70 million-ish, right? Right in that range. It can change any moment, but so right around that range, which when we first launched, if I could have gotten one around that, I would have been very, very happy, right? I paid over 100 million. But like we said, you know, depending on the types of auctions, you probably have to categorize them, because, you know, the very big ones might go cheaper because people don't have the Hadron to bid on them. The small ones may go cheaper because there's not the interest. The mid-sized ones might go a little bit more expensive because that's generally where people's interested in, you know. It's just more exciting to get more than one T-share than it is to get, you know, 200 billion.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be pretty excited to spend $152 and win, what is it, 8,000 hex per T-share or something like that. 8,100, 8,100 or something. $227.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to say that I'm surprised, but I'm not. But I mean, all the noise that I don't even know. Maybe I should. It seemed like when the whole poly thing was going around that there were a lot of people who were expressing to be smaller players that were like, this is great because then I can participate in this other thing and I don't even have to do anything. Unfortunately, it ended up a critical contract failure, but in the end result, where are the small guys? Did they all get tricked? Did they all get attacked? Did everybody get attacked? Where they gave up their Hedron for poly, and now if they go in there and they look at these auctions, then they could have won $60, $70 per T-share. Now they can't. They're fucked. They're going to have to get rid of their poly to go back. What was the point?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some of that.
It's just too bad that it was a critical failure. Because just having that orange poly executor thing on there, I think that was enough to cause for people to be like, fuck that. I'm just going to compete just because that thing is there, period. And then it became a huge fuck up. So then what? Is there another poly that they're going to launch to try to attack the dolphins? To get the dolphins to give up their Hedron into this other thing now that they can fix it? And then it maybe works. And then we have another poly executor type of situation after 180 days have gone by?
I don't know.
Do people actually want to get involved with a critical failure type contract risk thing like that after we told them that there was a huge contract risk and then we were right about the failure?
I think what I heard them say was that they're going to work on a bidding machine so that I mean, not they already have that, but to where they can resell the contracts and then circulate them.
Well, yeah, they know where the failure happened was in their misunderstanding between tokenized and non-tokenized HSIs and how that process happens when it comes out of the auction from tokenized, so you can move it, to non-tokenized into an actual wallet. So it's like one line of code to not have this critical failure, and it would have worked just fine. So I could see that, yeah, they can fix it and they could launch something that's going to be healthy and will work. But it's already kind of too late, don't you think? Like, the best case scenario is to have it work right away.
Why is too late?
Well, because the mentality, that's all. Just the mentality of people who actually take consideration to the risk with what they're doing are not going to give a shit about whether this particular team, which I'm not shitting on them. I like these guys, right? Like I love what they do. I like what they've been doing. I like that they establish an availability for people to take on a tactic and then go with it, right? That's all it is. Like there's 1,000 different tactics that you as an individual can take. This thing deploys one of those thousands of other tactics that you as an individual can deploy. And for that, you could speculate that over a long period of time of pooling that it's going to benefit you, right? However, even without this critical failure, I would have still have been, hey, I'm not trying to cause any FUD here, but who's to say that at the end of the 15 years, that even though they had this one critical fuck up, of unfortunate event that had happened that could have been avoided, will you be able to redeem at the end of the 15 years off of the current poly that's there? Will you be able to? Because I can almost guarantee you, not almost, I can guarantee you that was not tested. It was not.
There's no more Hedron. Like you said earlier, there's no more Hedron left. So all the small guys gave their Hedron in, and someone would have to buy Hedron to jump into a new poly contract.
Yep. And I think that, like I said before, that if they decided to do it again, that I think that their availability of success this time off of knowing what had happened previously is a lot higher, obviously, because they're gonna go into these testing of things. They're gonna scrutinize it a little bit more, hopefully, and they'll already know what code needs to be applied.
And if it's other person who proposed this and they're not the Maximus guy, imagine new guys come in and set up this contract. Will you have the same perspective about it?
I think so. I think I don't see, like, my perspective personally is I don't really see it as a bad thing. The whole poly, the whole maxi, their perpetuals, their involvement with being able to deploy, like I said, this one tactic, it's beneficial, right? I don't see any like actual negative things that can come to it through the communities. It'll actually bring the communities closer together with having more stuff to speculate with. And that's why I say it's unfortunate that there was a critical failure. That's all, right? And it's unfortunate for the longevity of that community, or at least for Dipcatcher and his capabilities of being able to code, because now it's going to be questioned. Period. I will question his availability to code, only because, not because I think that he has a lack of availability to code, but because he rushes into things. He just full blast runs right through everything, and it's as if you don't take any heed to any vulnerabilities or any possible warnings or any dangers that you may have just ran right past but didn't realize what was going on. Because as I'm sure that you're aware, that when you walk slowly, your availability to pay attention to detail is there. When you run full blast through anything, your attention to detail is blurred at best. And so that's kind of what I saw with the whole poly thing. It wasn't they were pressed for time. So I can see why he has this need to rush thing, but it's always been that way with Maxi, the perpetuals, with everything. It's Maxi is easy. You copy paste the actual code that does stuff, and you just implement one strategy. Very little code that needs to actually be implemented. Very simple. The perpetuals, same thing. Maybe a little bit more code to accentuate the timeline, and that's it. But when it comes into poly, on top of a contract that's built on top of another contract, where you have the availability of tokenizing and untokenizing, which means you're going from ERC 721 into a smart contract, and then from that smart contract, manipulating it into an ERC 721. So that ERC 721 has the availability of movement, and then you can bring it back into a smart contract that has availability of turning all the assets back into ERC 20s again. We know that this is how it works. This is how it's always worked. Before Icosa, before anything else, as soon as Hedron came to existence with having HSIs, that when you tokenize the stake and you untokenize the stake, this is how it works. But yet that was the one thing that they slipped up, and they let, that was the reason why the critical failure happened. But yet what I didn't like was them coming into the community, into Icosa Chat, into not even the Hedron chat. It wasn't even for Icosa. This was for a Hedron thing. And they didn't even go into the Hedron chat to tell any of the people in Hedron about what was going on. They just brought it into Icosa, told everybody all about it, sat there and talked about how the Icosa community is so awesome and it's fantastic and they love everybody that's in here. They have a critical failure. Where are they? Where are they? Fuck did they go? Where are they coming around being like, sorry guys, we fucked up, and I know that we said these things, but we want to make it up to you. No. They just stuck to their own community in their own little echo chamber of this thing that they did, and they just didn't want to. They wanted to foreshadow. Nobody pay attention to any of these things. It's all going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. We'll just change these things. We'll do this other stuff. No, bro. No. I don't think so. I highly don't think so. That's not cool. I love you guys. I think what you guys are doing is really bullish and really cool for the community to be able to participate in. But it means nothing if you can't get this shit right. So to come in and ask us questions about how things work, and then instead of being really intricate and listening, like I said, I've had multiple conversations with those guys in other chat rooms about what they were doing and things that they need to look for, and they just blew it all off. blew it all off. And then they came in for your money. They didn't take into consideration that it was your fucking money, guys. This is real shit. You can't fuck around like that with people's money. You'll die. I know people who will do a hell of a lot more for a hell of a lot less.
So what happens to the Hedron at the end of that 15-year period? What's your guess on the value? With that's a lot of Hedron coming all out at once.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's going to be worth? It's going to be worth a lot, but it's going to definitely drop in value just because all of that's going to be coming on the market.
I guess it depends on when your entry period was for it to be relevant to you on your average. Are you still around in 15 years? Does it even matter to you? How much did the price go up from today until 15 years from now? Did it go up 10,000x and drop 20x just like Hex had? Because you're still way up there, even if all those people were to sell all their shit at that point in time, right? Are you still sitting at 9,000x?
Yeah. I bought a tree once, and the lady said, well, when that problem happens, where are you going to be? So, yeah, I understand that one.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying, but it's just too tough to be a relevant thing to think about right now, I guess.
So basically 10% is burnt right now, roughly.
Is it?
Well, it's 7 trillion is burnt. And so actually more than 10%, because there's 110 trillion. And the OA owns 40 or 50 or something like that. And then the SA owns like 30.
Yep.
So
yeah, something like
the
this.
total that's available for us is like 45, and we just burnt 7 of it. So,
but think about how much is staked.
And then 30, a lot staked.
30%. It means that you don't even have it liquid.
30% is staked. Okay.
So if 7 to 10% gets burned, and let's say less than 50% is the SAs, and let's say 10 to 15% of it's the OAs, then you're already sitting at like 65% of the actual circulating supply not actually circulating, leaving somewhere around 35% available to the actual community, and 30% of it is staked, except for when the squids have availability to in theirs, which is about another 2 trillion, leaving, if 7% was burned, that's pretty much all available Hedron that's available to be actually circulating supply is gone now. So where are you going to get your Hedron from? There's only 2 trillion on the dexes also, by the way.
Borrow.
You have to borrow. You have to figure out something. You have to buy more Hedron or something if you want to compete. Or just wait until your minimum stake length if you happen to be one of those dolphins, and then end your stake without EESing, or EES a week prior or whatever, right? However many days prior, to see if you can gain an advantage in that type of way, because you would literally be the only person holding on to any liquid at that point in time. Literally.
So you think at the end of or the beginning of February is going to be like the juiciest time to snag anything?
Probably, from what it looks like now. Like even right now, it seems like a pretty good time to get the juicy ones, because nobody's bro. A $250,000 HSI 1,200 T-shares was sold for 30 grand. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that would happen?
It was late at night.
It was about 4 a.m. Yep.
Thanks to you.
I don't. I don't want to get that far into that. But I mean, as far as making those statements, like there's obvious advantages that you can have today, as opposed to having to quantify whether there will be an even higher advantage to you in 14, 15, 20 days from now. It's almost obvious that that is the case.
Executioner, can I make you a question?
You can make me whatever question you want, sir.
Okay, bro, imagine, okay, let's put this 30 grants that you're saying. Imagine, okay, I will buy this Hedron and 30 grants, stake it for 15 years. You think it would be better than buying this HSI?
Maybe. If I could spend $30,000 and win 200 grand, then I'm going to have to make my decisions wisely because of what that 200 grand actually represents. Did I put it into did I go get it liquid immediately in Icosa? Because I can almost guarantee that at that point in time, if I had 300,000 Icosa, that the liquidity pools would not suffice for that, for me to be able to extract that value. So I could take that 300,000 Icosa and I can stake in the pool and become the biggest monster that exists inside that pool all of a sudden for the next 15 years. Maybe not 15 years, but at least for a year or two. And that's just my speculation, right? I could be wrong on that. Or I can hold on to that liquid and just over long period of time extract value little by little into other assets and then use their liquidity pools to be able to extract more value. Maybe even at the best situation, negate all the gas costs for all the moving around that you'd have to do. If you wanted to do it in a timely manner, like do it quickly.
How much holders or liquidity should we have on Icosa to be easy to be prepared for any HSI who can be dumped on the market? How much liquidity you think